Hello and welcome to Shooting the Shit. We are live. If you are listening to us on a podcast, you could be forgiven for thinking that that's Rachel, but it's not. It's me. It's the better sister. It's Hannah. So it is our Christmas Shooting the Shit. So we thought rather than being all doom and gloom about the patriarchy, we would talk about some of the good things that have happened this year, some of the things that are helping to propel women and girls forward around the world and not just focusing on the UK. So I am joined by Meriesha and Jo. Meriesha, say hello.
Hi, everybody.
Jo, say hello.
Hello.
Oh, what a voice. Girls, what is your favourite part of the Christmas dinner?
Oh,
I don't know. It depends. Yeah, leftovers. To be honest, I'm all in for the leftovers.
The bomb. Yeah, I really like parsnips.
I don't know. Debatable.
Pigs in blankets, maybe then.
Oh, I don't eat processed meat.
It's all right. I'll make up for it.
I have got some vegan ones this year, though. Yeah, I don't eat sausage and I don't eat bacon, so a bit stuck with pigs in blankets. So we got some veggie ones.
What about a good stuffing?
I do like the stuffing, but it's got to be. Oh, you again? It's her again. Lecturous uncle.
We could make all the noises like, yeah, that's me, Benny Hill. Brilliant. On a feminism podcast.
Like a nice big sausage. So we like big sausages and stuffing. That's what we like. Well done, girls.
Well, Merry Christmas.
Dear. Merry Christmas, indeed. Wow.
You didn't expect. What else did you expect? I'm sorry. You're not going to expect really conversation out of.
The sprouts. Do you have sprouts? Do you like the sprouts?
Yes.
Always.
Yeah,
I love the
always.
sprouts. Yeah,
I just like the combo of everything, and I've been won over to bread sauce. I wasn't brought up.
I like a bread sauce.
Yeah, like a nice homemade bread sauce. Actually, that's just another thing to add to my list of things to do.
Yeah, yes. I just remembered then stuffing. I need to buy the stuffing. I ain't making my own stuffing. I really like on any roast dinner. Do you ever have onions soaked in vinegar?
No.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a really Lancashire thing or if it's just like a wine-old thing, but onions soaked in vinegar are pretty good, pretty special on a roast dinner.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, just something really sharp. It cuts through the clagginess of everything else.
So could I just add one of my pickled onions to the dinner?
You could just have a pickled onion if you wanted, yeah. Yum.
I homemade pickled onions. They're very special. So I think,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, perfect. Do that. Top tips for Christmas dinner. So, shall we crack on then? This is all frivolous. So, it's dead easy, I think, to think about all the shit that goes on in the world, especially when we're trying to smash the patriarchy and think about all the bad things that happen and all the ways that women and girls around the world are subjugated. But actually, each year, I feel like we do make strides towards equality. So we'll just have a little run through those. So first of all, abortion this year was legalized in Argentina. Why is that a good thing, Jo?
Well, it allows choice for women.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're going to be positive, but let's just mention that that's great. Meanwhile, America, not so great.
Yeah, I think the other thing is as well, whilst it's legal, how easy is it for people to get abortions, and how looked down upon is it for people to get abortions, especially it's very Catholic, isn't it, Argentina? And so will it be easy for people to get abortions? But it is a step forward. But yeah, like you say, other places are taking enormous steps back, like America. Well, parts of America, we should say. And I think really, would we say a lot of it was Ruth Bader Ginsburg that, dying that caused that allowed that to take a backward step? I think it's had a big part of it, hasn't it?
I think maybe so, because if, it requires someone, quite frankly, banging the drum that's in that space, doesn't it? And it's kind of harsh, because it's like, okay, well, people that are you know, going out, speaking out against it, etc., etc. Sometimes it does just falls on deaf ears, doesn't it? You know, ultimately, you know, and if you haven't got, you know, someone in power that is, you know, backing whatever, you know, is going forward, it just makes it harder, shall we just say, you know. And yeah, and I guess that's the reason for, you know, some of the positivity to get women into powerful places, isn't it? You know, so actually it is a separate, you know, voice, you know, different part of the conversation to bang that drum.
This is true, yeah, definitely. And I think statistically, it's Republicans that are against abortion, like, and I don't want to get too kind of American centric, but it's that kind of conservative, kind of right leaning facet of society that's against abortion and also against anti-mask mandates statistically. So, and anti-vax. So, you know, kind of women can't control what happens to their bodies, but they won't wear a mask because you know, it's being enforced upon them, which is just incredibly ironic.
Don't you think that? So go on, Jo.
Okay, on.
No, I was just going to say it's laughable, isn't it? You know, the irony that comes out of like some of these things sometimes. Like, it does seem like, is that for real? Do people really behave that way? You know? And yeah, unfortunately they do.
It's absolute horseshit, isn't it? Like, how can you say abortion is is not the right of the adult, of the woman, or in some horrible cases of the child, and yet, you know, wearing a mask to protect other, I don't know, but like, let's not get into the mask debate, but the abortion debate we should definitely get into. Okay, so number 2, rape laws have been reformed in Denmark and in some other European countries. Reese, you did a bit of research on this, didn't you?
Oh, hang on. Let me just hang on.
The article.
No, hang on a moment. Hang on. Okay, yes. So let me just clarify what it is exactly that changed. And basically, it was the definition of you know, sex without consent as rape. It's something as basic as that, you know, which again sounds, you know, kind of obvious, you know, to the rest of us, you know, but the fact that there's a lot of antiquated laws that are out there. So basically, like a lot of European countries, to quote this article specifically, which is on Amnesty, Denmark had antiquated laws which recognised rape only if there was physical violence, threat, or coercion. So it was nothing to do with actual consent, basically. So there we are. It's been reformed. Happy days. It's on a positive note. And the other countries as well. Greece have got something similar now, as have Croatia, and Spain and the Netherlands are planning to do the same. So yeah, there we are. It changes the law, but it doesn't necessarily change the attitude. So, you know, there still needs to be a lot of, you know, talk around it and a lot of changing the message, you know, so that people actually take it seriously.
And
we have hard enough.
And the
yeah, exactly.
Of people realizing what's happened to them.
What is?
What is?
Yeah.
Because it's so deep rooted in attitudes and culture that, you know, it's like, well, no, you were raped. It's like, well, I wasn't this, he wasn't that violent, you know, all of that. It takes a long time to overcome. So yeah, it's not just changing the law, it's the conversations around it and yeah, just raising that awareness.
I think as well, when people use, it's almost euphemisms for rape, I think it downplays the victim, and well, I'm kind of just repeating what you said, but it downplays the victim's experience and it makes it more acceptable. Like when people talk about child prostitution, no, it's rape, or like coerced sex, no, it's rape, like, or sexual assault with penetration, no, it's rape. Like, can we just call it what it is? Or where you see like the red tops talking about, you know, teacher had sex with underage pupil. No, teacher raped the pupil. Like, I think we just need to get not, you know, we as a society and as a legal system need to get more used to calling it what it is. And therefore, everyone knows rape is a bad thing. Whereas having sex with an underage pupil sounds a bit more like, you know, cheeky, Benny Hill kind of thing, especially where it's a a female teacher raping a boy, it's almost like the picture of the teacher in a sexy underwear and what a lucky boy he was kind of thing. So I think that calling a spade is a great big step forwards towards protecting vulnerable and the not vulnerable, the unlucky.
Yeah, for sure. And it kind of sidelines into, uncomfortable conversation. I know we're talking about, wins for women and feminism, but it's, there's been an awful lot that's happened in the last year about people that are more open to having uncomfortable conversations and, calling it rape. That's what it is. Yes, if it makes you uncomfortable, sorry, and I think we kind of have to get over that, don't we, really, and actually start, talking about things properly rather than, like you say, trying to make them a little bit less offensive. If that's even a thing.
Yeah, but it is, isn't it? Because always the male have been protected, so the men have been protected. So like always, as if you can make it as inoffensive as possible, sex with a minor rather than rape, then like I guess that's why they do it, just to protect the bloody perpetrators. So something else really positive, just to pull us out of this rape pit, more countries have recognised same-sex marriage, which is a win not just for women but for everybody. I think as we step towards an equal society, then nobody loses. Nothing really more to say on that, is there?
There's not. No, it's just like, but can you believe that we're having to even say that now? But still, it's a positive thing, but there's so much more to do, right? It's awesome.
Yeah, there is, but I do feel like the tide is changing, and Naya's been watching Friends, on Netflix, and Friends feels really recent to me, and yet still all the kind of the jokes about Carol getting married to, what was her name? Susan and stuff, the kind of same-sex marriage there, and how it was like the punchline to everything, and that wasn't that long ago. So I do feel like things are moving forward, but this is coming from a kind of position of privilege of not being unable to marry my partner.
True.
This is a biggie, I think. So Sudan, number 4, Sudan abolished FGM. And they were one of the biggest perpetrators of FGM around the world. So for them to abolish that, I think that's just amazing. And I can't believe that in 2021, FGM still goes on.
Explain what it is.
Oh, sorry, female genital mutilation. So in lots of countries, it's customary to either cut off the clitoris or kind of remove the clitoris and the vulva of children, or sew up the vagina and just leave a tiny, tiny hole for periods and, that's it, periods. And often it's done when girls are starting to reach maturity, and it obviously leads to huge problems, leads to mass infections, unable to ever have proper sexual relationships or any sexual enjoyment, and it's done to protect the virtue, allegedly, of women, and it's a really widespread practice. It's done in this country. It's like, it is kind of tied with religion and culture often, and it's incredibly barbaric, and it can traumatize women, and often young girls are kind of pinned down and their genitals are cut off. Or mutilated and sewn up, and then if their vagina's sewn up, when they marry, it's cut open again so she can have penetrative sex with her husband, and it kind of protects her virginity. It's just awful.
It's also done as a way of controlling. It's not necessarily to just protect virginity. It's about assuming that a woman's sexual power, female sexual power, comes from the genitals, and all of those kind of things. So in a way to control that, and stop that from happening, to stop them from thinking sexual thoughts. All of those things come into play, and it is absolutely barbaric. It's one of the things, if I had untold millions and billions, I'd put all my everything into try to stopping it from happening and trying to change. And I say trying to change because it is so deeply ingrained within so many cultures and so many countries, and their beliefs, that actually it's one of those things that really does require education, and people going into country and talking about it and explaining to the men and the males why it's not good, why it's outdated, why things should change, etc.
And the women, it's
and them, for sure.
Because
yes, they do.
And it does, I think there's a reluctance sometimes, because it feels like a kind of crusade that, the white people are going in and talking to these, poor Africans that don't know any better, and obviously I'm saying that sarcastically, and we're trying to force our cultural beliefs on other people, but it is just barbaric mutilation. There's no kind of way around it. Did you know, though, that 75% of male Americans are circumcised?
Yeah, and that's it. The opposite, part of the conversation, isn't it? Why is that okay? For that to happen, yet we are championing, the end of FGM in all of these countries, because actually it happens to men too. It's less barbaric, shall we say, in theory, because it's accepted as, and it's not necessarily done behind closed doors and all of that kind of stuff. But it's a really, interesting opposite to the conversation, and also should be part of the conversation for sure.
Yeah. There's that film, what's it? It's like Moms or something. It's got, that girl that's married to Ashton Kutcher. This is a great anecdote. What's her name? Mila. What's her name?
Mila Kunis.
Yeah. So she's in that god awful film, and they're like making light of, if this woman like hooks up with a guy and he's not circumcised, she wouldn't know what to do with it, and like they're making loads of fun about it. But it's just bad moms. That's it. But it's just so culturally acceptable that they are, pinning down babies when they're born and circumcising them for absolutely no reason. So yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it?
Okay. It is. Jo looks like, wow, I didn't expect to be going into that today.
It's nauseating, isn't it? You'll see you crossing your legs. It is. It's absolutely nauseating that it happens, but it does. Okay, number 5. In Saudi Arabia, some women's rights activists were released. Rish, pull up your article and tell us a bit about that.
Oh, hang on. I wonder what you're going to pull up your article. Hang on a minute. What was it, sorry? I was looking for it.
One about Saudi Arabia women's rights activists released.
Hang on. Oh, bear with. So, hang on a second. Oh, I can't say the lady's name. Bear with. Lujane. One of Saudi Arabia's most prominent women's rights activists, was released from prison after almost 3 years. I apologise for how I said it. If someone wants to correct it, please do. But she was instrumental in overturning the ban on women driving, and challenging male guardianship laws. But the fight is not over, apparently. So she's home, but she's not free, because there's so much stuff still going on around it. But there's lots of people, I guess, that are in similar situations, being behind bars because they try and make change, or they're activists, So, but yeah, I guess it's one out of many.
Well, I suppose.
Sorry. Completely.
Go on, Judge.
Now, I just noticed in the comments that, our Rachel couldn't be with us today because of internet issues, but she's commenting away. And I'm just going to point out, considering what we were just talking about, her typo of bad moms is quite amusing.
It is actually, isn't it? And then to get your articles out for the lads. I've heard that before. I'm not going to lie.
Sorry, I was lowering the tone, but I'd say that Rachel lowered the tone through me. So
she's here in spirit.
Yeah.
She's not dead. She's not dead.
Yeah. It's just bad Wi-Fi, which, to be honest, mate, you may as well be dead. So yeah, well done, Saudi Arabia, but you know, keep up the good work. You've still got a way to go. I think that would be fair to say.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah. Over here now, and this was quite a big win, I think. Well, actually, I was going to say this is quite a big win, but when you compare it to all the other things, it feels pretty small. But the UK tampon tax was abolished, and sanitary products are now available for free in school. So it does feel pretty small fry, but I suppose it's a step towards kind of big wigs recognising that women exist.
Well, yeah, there's definitely that, and hopefully, you know, trying to avoid some of the shame around periods. The fact that it's even sort of, you know, things around period poverty, you know, especially in schools. You know, it will improve women's lives. So it feels like a small win in some ways, but the untold sort of day-to-day impact will probably be quite huge. So
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that as well.
Why is it taking so flipping long? It's ridiculous.
I know.
I think so.
We were. Go on, Rich.
No, I was just good. Honestly.
Right, you go now.
Okay, so I was going to say we've started. Well, I've started to see that, you know, it's much less taboo, you know, to have, you know, a sanitary section in the toilets now, or, you know, for people to be openly talking about, you know, sanitary products and things like that, and tampons and this, that, and the other. So I think it's positive for sure. Not saying that, you know, it wins everything, but surely it's you know, heading in the right direction to kind of make it, you know, normal, because it is.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when you consider as well, like all the other places, like recognizing same-sex marriage, we've got that legal abortion, we've got that, like, you know, in terms of the world, UK doesn't do so badly, does it really, for women's rights and the rights of girls? And if you think like in Afghanistan, girls are still being stopped going to school, you know, I don't think we're doing so badly, are we? And I think as well, sanitary products in schools is such a big thing. And one of my friends works in a school, and he said that they've got free sanitary bags, not just like, you know, a tampon, but little brown bags that you can take that will kind of get you through the week, in all the toilets, not just they've got unisex bathrooms, so anybody can get access to sanitary products, and they've not been abused. You know, the lads aren't chucking the tampons around, which it would have been when I was at school. Like if anyone saw a tampon in your bag, it'd be pulled out your bag and thrown around the room and stuff, because you know, tampons are just the funniest thing anybody could ever imagine. So I think that's indicative of a good step forward, that they're in unisex loos and they're not kind of abused, and of course they wouldn't be abused. So when
it becomes, you take away the stigma, you take away the shame, then they won't be abused. It won't be embarrassing to pull someone's tampon or sanitary towels out of their bag and throw it around, because it should be no different to having a pack of tissues in your bag.
Yeah, exactly.
Or whatever. That's how we undo it. Is like, make it less shameful. It's part of what about 50% of everyone in the world goes through at some point. You know, it's as normal as Rachel's saying in the comments. Yeah, it's just like having a loo roll.
Yeah.
You need it.
Exactly. And I think we're normalize it, and the stigma goes. Yeah, I do think we're stepping towards that, I hope, although possibly I just
mute yourself. It's all good.
No, sorry. So excellent. So that's number 6. Number 7. Gender-based violence has been put on the agenda across the world, and this is through, mainly Sarah Everard, kind of bringing it to the forefront. But I think especially in this country, but also globally, I do think more attention is being paid to gender-based violence. Do we think that this will carry on, or will it kind of slip by the wayside, like Me Too did a little bit?
Well, I've been reflecting on this a lot because when we were talking about this topic, I was thinking, wins for 2021. And at the moment, it feels very present. It feels very much, that the conversation is continuing. And there was so there's a lot of weird noise. So like music coming from somewhere.
I don't know. Someone's got a buzz. Got a buzz.
Anyway, sorry, I'll just keep talking. It's probably me, isn't it? I don't know.
It's Hannah.
So it's Hannah, yeah. So it sounds like a bit of drum and bass going on somewhere.
I love the fact that Jo said that as well. A little bit of drum and bass going on. Hashtag rave. Sorry, go on.
Is it back? Is it me?
Yeah.
Is it not my clock in the background?
There is a clock, but there's also a buzz. There's like a weird buzz noise going on.
I'll mute myself.
So just thinking, in light of the video that Manchester brought out, the Is It Normal video in response that I think it was just last Friday, I first saw it on Twitter, and it was Is It Normal? It was an incredible, powerful video, and I was like, yeah. So those of you who might not have seen it, it just showed a young woman going around her ordinary day and the amount of everyday sexism that she faces. And that's what made me think. So I thought, yeah, that's really powerful. But remember the everyday sexism hashtag and the movement around that. That was a good few years ago now. So there was, sadly for me, it made me think, this isn't new. We know it's not new as women, but it being in the public isn't new. When is it going to take effect? That's the bit that really got me, is when I thought about it.
It's true. Is that better, by the way, or is that still very buzzy?
It's better.
Just
slightly better.
Oh, sorry.
Carry on.
Cool. It's true, but I do. Everyday sexism did happen a long time ago, and the young girls that grew up during the kind of everyday sexism movement, they do seem to be more aware of it and willing to call it out. And we talk about laptop activism, where young women are focusing all their efforts online. And when we had that session where we talked about kind of the past, present and future of feminism and the waves of feminism, we talked about, is it actually having any effect? But I think they did grow up during that, and they did see the everyday sexism, and maybe now they pick it out for what it was. So while it's not had a direct impact, has it actually just filtered into the consciousness of a generation?
So just on that, I think the bit I find the frustration with is that we're still having to. So we talk about women who've grown up with it and know it's not right and call it out and talk about it. What about the men? When is it going to stop? That's the bit that I'm just like, if anything, it feels like it's worse, because I don't know if it can get worse, but it feels worse because we're talking about it. These horrible things keep happening. Women are getting, speaking out about it. Yet there's still a huge proportion of men behaving in a way that makes us have to talk out about it.
Exactly.
It's the behavior of those who are perpetuating this violence on women that's not changing.
Yeah, and it's not even, if we think about everyday sexism, it's not even violence, is it? It could just be dick pics, being sent to people, boys asking girls for nudes and then sharing them amongst their friends. It's it is just everyday sexism, low level objectification of women, and it's not stopping and it's not slowing down, is it? It's just carrying on.
And in different ways to us when we were younger. Someone couldn't just, airdrop a dick pic on your phone, thank God. But that's...
Yeah, if they'd have to come and wave it at you through the window, which was fine because you could shut the curtains.
Get it developed, be embarrassed when you picked up that picture, and
for your mum to find.
I love that.
Would be under the lens.
It's more difficult to.
It was. Oh, they don't know the born these days, do they? With their instant genital pictures.
Every cloud.
about the RGMs these days. Yeah.
I think as well, you know, I don't know. I maybe see, you know, some of the good. I think there are some, you know, kids that are more willing to call it out. I think Rachel's kind of, you know, mentioned that as well. You know, that the kids, I guess, well, the Winehole kids have got no choice, right? But you know, I think there is a change, and I think the change is slowly happening because it's more acceptable. You know, it touches into the, you know, for men to have feelings, you know, to that conversation, doesn't it, basically, you know, and we've talked about it on these chats before, but I think, you know, let's face it, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to change overnight, because so much of this kind of activity and, you know, behavior comes, you know, is deep inbred, and it comes from their parents and their parents' parents, and, you know, what happens in social circles and things like that. But I would hope that it starts to get, you know, just, you know, slowly changes. It'd be better if it was quicker. I get it. You know, but I think there is some change, because we're talking just because we're talking more, and it's like, you know, the boys get sad too, you know, having more men's charities that, you know, where men can go and talk and things like that, you know, that all plays into the same thing. I think that's it. I think people are not really joining the dots with all of this stuff, really, are they? You know, it seems like they're very just, you know, well, we need them to do this more, and we need them to do this more, without realizing what the greater impact of all of those things, you know, joined up, you know, will be.
Or even the root cause of it. The root cause of it being, you know, the patriarchy, toxic masculinity and stuff. I do think though, when I think about my time at high school, there were a couple of teachers that were especially pervy, and everybody knew that they were especially pervy, and I don't think they would get away with that now, you know, dropping their pencil to look up a year 7 skirt and brushing against your bum as they walk past. And I remember Rachel at a job she had once, her boss pulled open her shirt and looked down her top, and, you know, and that was like her first day on the job. I don't think that would happen now. I hope not. So I think maybe we have got better at protecting young women and girls, and you know, us old ones as well, against certainly sexual harassment in the workplace when it's really blatant.
And also, sorry, no, carry on. I was just going to add to that as well. I got excited because I was thinking about something else and it came out. Sorry.
Right,
my ADHD brain's coming out there. But you know, I think as well, it's a lot more, I think, you know, younger women are feeling a lot more powerful in themselves, i.e., you know, to be different. So there's that whole, you know, women in STEM, for example, which is not new, but it's, you know, making people feel like there's more to life than being sexualized, you know, and I'm not saying that is the be all and end all, you know, because let's face it, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on social media, which we won't go into, but you know, there are people trying, you know, and thinking, well, it is wrong for, you know, me just to be about my tits.
There are, yeah, but then, like, have you been on Boohoo recently, or like Pretty Little Thing? And honestly,
well, as I was saying it, I was like, oh, but yeah, there's so much shit out there still in there. I'm trying.
Yeah. I mean, was it 2021 that was the year of WAP, or was that 2020? 2020 was a car crash year, so it could have been the year of WAP, couldn't it?
Oh yeah, it could have been.
Yeah.
2020, yeah.
I think
so you get a pair of those G-string chaps. On Boohoo. Do not live.
I need a second pair.
Exactly. I mean, who doesn't want a pair of them? Like, you've just got a builder's bum and a thong right up your arsehole. It's wonderful.
All you need that is some low-rise jeans that are coming back. And then
I know, mate. Put my flares on the other day. I'm well in with the kids. Mate, I don't care if I'm nearly 40. I can look 21.
You can indeed.
She says.
You just gotta get a top that's got nothing here. I mean, I was looking at one of those adverts that, like, for some shit, for that ego, and honestly, like, not one item of clothing is like not got something cut out. Half of it, like, Your whole boob would hang out of some of those clothes. It's ridiculous. Anyway, maybe that's my age. But yeah, you wear your flares. Jo, you get your low-rise jeans with your thong. And I'll wear my chaps. And we'll be fine.
Yay!
Oh, all the girl band.
Yeah. Well, we're just like Destiny's Child. Actually, I did used to have chaps, but they were actually for riding. So does it count if you're actually on a horse?
No, not at all. No fun.
And if you are,
and then speaking of, well, no, that was going to be really crass. That's all I'm not saying.
There's a win right there.
I know, yeah.
Well done.
I just couldn't cope Jo's face if I said it.
The disappointment.
Yeah. Oh, Hannah. But anyway, and finally, number 8, Trump left. We got like Trump. Well, I mean, this is not our win. I mean, I do think it's a win for humanity.
It's a win for the world.
It is a win for the world that fucking overboiled bloody what's it got out, and a bloody woman, is vice president. And let's face it, she'll be president like within the 4-year term because poor Joey's a bit doddery, isn't he? Although, you know, I know that Trump is bad and evil and everything, and he really is. But do we not think Joe Biden's got a bit touchy-feely with people sometimes?
Well, apparently so. And this is it, isn't it? You know, where's the? I don't. Well, let's fucking say it. Double standard. Where's it at? Do you know what I mean? It's like, and I think that whilst Trump is no longer in power, he's done some damage, man. He has got some followers, you know, and they're not going to disappear. They're not going away. He's not going away, for fuck's sake, you know. So I think, yes, whilst he's not around, you know, in the public eye, because he's been banned from most platforms, I think now, hasn't he? But yeah, it's kind of still going on, still there.
He has done some major damage. And I do think, would Biden have been elected if Donald Trump wasn't the only alternative? Because he does look a bit predatory on some photos. Can't be denied.
I haven't seen any of these predatory hands.
Oh, seriously? Google it, Jo. Like, there's lots and lots of pictures of him, like, handsy with children, pop stars, kissing children on the lips. Like, don't know. Have a Google of it. Maybe it's innocent, maybe it's not.
No.
Yeah, I know.
I was just feeling good, and
so what a lovely year we've had.
I chatted with some friends earlier because I just wanted to get their take as women. They're all women, and from different parts. One from the US, one from Canada, one from here in the UK. And I wanted to ask them whether they thought there'd been, you know, steps forward as women. My American friend, who must apologise at least once every time we speak about the USA, said very strongly that she thought it was a terrible year for feminism in the US States. And she's really, really feeling it.
Where Canadian in the States is she? Sorry.
She's New York State. So
quite liberal, but still feeling it.
Feeling it, because, right, you're still stuck with, you feel it. My Canadian friend had lots of, you know, she was much more like positive being, well, Canadian. And she just said in Canada, they had banned conversion therapy, and that was a unanimous vote.
Amazing.
That's a good thing. And she also then told me lots of amazing facts, and I couldn't write them down fast enough, but like female Nobel Prize winner. Let's like shout about all the great women leaders, which I know we've talked about. My friend from the UK had a very, and I would like to claim this as my own, but I can't because that would be plagiarism. But when we were talking about, you know, the backlash in America with, you know, abortion rights and, you know, how that seems to be going backwards, she said quite wisely that the sign of progression is often regression. So people dig their heels in when progress is being made. So it's about that, you know, the 1 step forward, 3 steps back. So the signs that we are getting shit done, it just sometimes we've got to take it back and keep pushing forward. So we shouldn't feel disheartened. It just should rile us up to fight even more, because people are standing up and taking note. They're trying to fight back, but we can push on through because, well, we've got this far, and why shouldn't we continue to push forward and continue to fight for equality? So I thought that was quite wise. The sign of progression is regression, but means we can fight back.
That is wise. So that must mean then that America are going to like leap into like 2050 with the amount of regression they've had.
I think it's, you know, it is. And yeah, and on the face of it, it's like, yeah, oh God, they're going to, you know, they're into the year 3000, you know, with busted. But like
disrupting.
Well, that's it. Yeah. It's disruption, isn't it? And you know,
it's true, actually. Sorry, go on, Meriesha.
No, I was just going to say we come, you know, at it from a very privileged perspective in the UK, you know, because we have got, you know, lots of things in place, and it's not all right, you know, by any stretch, but it's, you know, not as good in other places for sure. And I think we do have to kind of, you know, take an overall view on what's going on, you know, and I agree. I think people will dig their heels in to say, no, we don't want change. But quite frankly, those people are literally dying out. That sounds awful, but it's going to happen. You know, so that's what we kind of have to keep going for, don't we? And just keep going for the cause.
It's true. I mean, I spend a lot of time on Reddit, which I know is a cesspit, but I do see a lot of anti-feminist you know, activity going on, and a lot of misogyny going on, and I think it's definitely more so in the last 12 months. It's definitely more prevalent and more acceptable that men and also women actually are riling against feminism, which hopefully is an indicator that it's becoming more mainstream, that people aren't now ashamed to be feminists, and we're not, you know, kind of this, we're not a marginalized group or an underground movement, that women are getting more rights and being more vocal and standing up for ourselves a bit more.
But people are fearful of change, and also what they perceive to lose. You know, why, if you're a white middle class man, would you want more equality for women? Because they see it as only devaluing, maybe, or just, sorry, that's a real specific, but just generally those who are anti-feminism, it's because they're fearful of what equality might look like. They see it was going to take away from me. And I see it in older generations about how they casually will say, oh, well, you know, in a derogatory way, like, we're going to have more women in jobs or more women in power, as if it's a bad thing, rather than, what about just more of the right people in the right jobs, irrespective of their race, their gender, their colour, you know? And it's usually from white males that I hear that. It's
exactly. It's equity, isn't it? Not equality. It's equity. It's making sure that everybody has an equal chance to get themselves into that right job.
But when people wild up, it's because we're making noise that's being heard.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely think it requires, you know, that just continually calling it out. You know, and I think when that gets said, sometimes it's like it's taken to the extreme, you know, that we have to go on a rant and a riot to you know, get a point across about things. But actually you don't. It's like, you know, just it comes up in conversation. I often have conversations with, you know, people I know that I've met through work, you know, that'll say things like, oh, I had a conversation with a female director, you know, and it's just part of how they process, you know, what's going on. And I'm not making excuses for it, but it's a case of, why does it make any difference that she's female? Why do you need to tell me that? I really don't give a damn, you know. And we're quite open and honest about the conversations we have. And he's like, I didn't even think about it like that. Doesn't even realize he's doing it, you know. So it's like, you know, the more it gets talked about and called out, you know, then it doesn't have to be going on, you know, a rant about anything. You can just talk.
Exactly. Like just affect your microcosm, and if everybody, you know, your own little corner of the world, and if everybody does that, change can't be stopped.
Right. Exactly.
That sounds like a nice point to end on, doesn't it?
Have you had any wins? Have you had any personal wins this year about this kind of stuff? Have you seen any? We've talked about what's gone on in the world. What have we got going on? And I asked that question with absolutely no answer for myself whatsoever, as usual. I'm sure Rachel will pipe up with something in the comments. But have you girls noticed anything different?
Well, we Seroptimist group, one of the first online Seroptimist groups in the country. So that enables people of lower income, because it's not as expensive, to join groups. So women of lower income, and also women who are less mobile, unable to get to meetings, have got, caring commitments that they need to do, or just don't want to go out to meetings, got a full-time job and can't go to meetings. So we are working with the directors of Seroptimists, and we've kind of opened up ushering in a new age of seroptimism with some other groups. We're not the first one in the world, but there's not many in Britain and there's not many in the world. So that's a little win, I like to think. And this year we're working on a campaign to educate young people, not just girls, about the dangers of spiking, the impact of spiking. So, it's not, don't just spike people for a laugh, because it can have really long-lasting consequences. And also if bouncers do spot people spiking, who are spiked, not just to chuck them out of the club because they think they're too pissed. And also we did a huge collection for a local refuge, a women's refuge, for Christmas gifts for the women and the children, which was just an unbelievable amount of stuff. And the other campaign was getting free sanitary products in every toilet in Rossendale to start with as a pilot, and then in Bacup, and then expanding it out across the country. So that's my little win.
That's a lot of wins. A whole bunch of wins on there.
Rachel, you sorry you asked yet? Because I can't.
my win's not. I don't have that at all. So I just think it's interesting, because we talk about all these these big. There are big topics. Let's face it. We cover quite a lot in the year. Some of which we can talk about, fluently. Some not so much. Some it's about education for ourselves as much as it is to whoever might be listening or watching. And I just find it interesting. What we deem a win ourselves, and it is on a scale, isn't it? Are we making huge differences by setting up groups, or ending issues with sanitary and things like that, or for me it isn't as grand as that. However, it would be about supporting women in business, for example. That's my how I don't necessarily bring change, but it is a change, because we've kind of talked about it before in terms of, well, if we hit that glass ceiling, well, fuck it, we'll go around it and we'll go and build our own house, and we'll and do our own things. So I think that's the only way I can make change at the moment. It's about women in business.
I didn't mean to make anyone feel uncomfortable or deride anybody else's achievements. And I've definitely we've not done this on our own, and we've got a massive organisation behind us, and it's mainly Rachel that's done it anyway.
She's claimed it all for all of us, just saying.
This podcast, I feel, has made a big difference. We've grown a group of over 300 people that come together to kind of commiserate and celebrate and share ideas and stuff. And each fortnight we put out content that hopefully some people get something from.
For sure. And even if it's just part of conversation, we talk always about it being about talking, doesn't it? So if it even just strikes up conversation, like some of the good things we come out with, and maybe not so good things we come out with, then it's for a win, right?
My friends will say to me, "Oh, I watched Shooting the Shit, and I never thought about it like that before. I'd never thought about this before, and you guys made a really good point and stuff, and I'm going to do this." So even if we're just altering one or two people in their own little world, that's amazing.
For sure.
And I think that would be my win, is that for someone who's I can do what I need to do, but I'm quite conflict averse, and I do tend to sit on the more sort of cheerier side of things, but I sometimes don't want to think about the nastiness and the what at times can feel like an insurmountable task, you know. So, you know, being part of this podcast makes me like sit up and take note and think about some of those things, and makes me more likely to speak up in conversations. I mean, there's not been much opportunity for socialization with people to do that, but I'm more likely to dig in and actually like, no, I'm not just going to sit back and take that, like, you know, like Meriesha was saying, that sort of casual sexist comment, I'm going to call it out. So in my own small way. Plus, I feel really proud, cleaned out my underwear drawer and donated my used bras to Smalls for All. Sent that
Amazing.
off. So there we are. There's a little small charitable act that I've just done.
Well done. Well done.
Awesome.
I think though as well, like Jo, you're conflict adverse and I'm obviously not. But I feel like you have tempered me a little bit. Like I think, you know, should I be this aggressive with this person that I don't know? And the answer is usually no.
I don't think it's just that, isn't it? I think it's it is a different perspective on things. And like me looking in on the conversations we have on these chats, you know, what the one that springs to mind is about marriage, for example, you know, and I think that, yeah, people have got different perspectives, and it's very easy to just, you know, turn to your echo chamber and holler into it and get a load of people that come back with exactly the same views as you, you know, but actually meeting other people, you know, we've had some great guests on here as well, you know, that have opened our eyes into some, all sorts of conversations, you know, and I think it's fascinating because I'm much the same. Like, I agreed to be on this, you know, like, yeah, of course, as I often get into things, I'm not really thinking about what I'm doing, you know, but it has been good for me as well, you know, to kind of, you know, and sometimes Rachel will come up with, you know, things to talk about, or they'll come up in, you know, our conversation. I'm like, flipping hell, that's a bit heavy, isn't it, for a chat? However, you know, it goes on, doesn't it? You know, so why not talk about it? You know, why not, you know, have a look and see what it's about? You know, so there's awareness of it. So yeah, so that's a shout out to the guests for the year as well, because they've all been awesome.
Have been amazing. Yeah, like we've managed to get some really interesting guests this year, and I think next year, you know, if anyone is watching and they want to be a guest, let us know. Like, we're always happy to talk to people because it is that different perspective. Like I can't remember if we did this on a shoot in the shit or if it was just a chat, but when we were talking about romance novels, and I've never really read a romance novel, and I went and read a romance novel, and you know what, I hated every second of it, but I read it. So like, I can't, you know, I can say now, not for me, or maybe I've not read the right one, but I'd never really looked at it. You know, I just kind of thought, well, it's not for me, and just never really thought about it. Whereas, you know, now I know. But I know that, you know, I can see the virtue in them. I can see the value in them. And the same thing when we were talking about marriage, Jo, and, you know, we do see other people's perspectives. And I had not thought about things in the way that you put it across. And it did change my view on marriage and stuff. So, yeah, I feel it's been really good. And hopefully anybody watching, anybody in the group has got something out of it as well. Even if you just feel that there's the sisterhood behind you. I think that's a benefit.
Indeed.
There we go.
That's a lovely
That's
note.
Nice, isn't it? That's nice.
Aren't we lovely? Aren't we lovely?
Something like that. Something like that.
Right, well, I do believe it's sherry o'clock. It's 5 o'clock. It's nearly Christmas. It's time for Stollen and sherry. Don't you think?
Oh, that could have gone really like wrongly. How you said, I could never say that. I'm just trying to put my teeth in thinking about it.
What, Stollen and sherry?
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, move on.
Anyway. Favourite Christmas tipple?
I'll drink oatmeal. I'm not bothered, right? Maybe my all-time winner, if you want to put yourself to sleep, is Baileys and Branda. It doesn't curdle. It's just aggressively alcoholic. So knock yourself out on that, kids.
I'm going to go get one of them now.
Not kids.
No, not kids. No, although I did try and give Naya some Baileys yesterday. She didn't like it. Who doesn't like Baileys? It's like pop.
Children don't like Baileys.
Well, I couldn't believe it. I'd have been guzzling that. So I've got some Advocaat and I'm going to try it with a snowball later.
Yes,
Baby shower.
You will like the alcoholic Christmas.
Jo's favourite tipple?
I really enjoy being able to have fizz on Christmas morning. I like an early drink.
Yeah. I like an early drink.
Yeah, I like a sherry morning.
Joe's like feigning horror at the fact that Hannah's trying to force feed her child, you know, Baileys and whatever else she can get down her neck. And Joe's like, I'll start at 9 o'clock. I don't mind. Merry Christmas. I love it.
Hey,
like an early drink.
France, kids drink wine with their dinner. It's civilized. It's continental.
It's
It's a Baileys with her fish fingers.
Continental. Oh, no.
Right. You know what? Without Rachel, we're unruly. We've got to end nearly an hour.
Right, that's it. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Have a fabulous Christmas and a lovely New Year, and we will see you in 2022 when we're doing something else, probably locked down. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.